A Gathering of Days, a New England Girl's Journal, 1830 to 1832. A novel by Joan W. Blos. Chapter 14. Monday, July 15, 1831. Teacher Holt and Aunt Lucy Mason are going to be married. Cassie says she's older than he, but not enough to matter. They've not set the marriage date, or if the wedding will take place here or Salem, Massachusetts, which is Aunt Lucy's home. Cassie and I are beside ourselves with hoping that our own New Hampshire will prove the favored location. As was decided concerning Aunt Lucy, Maddie and I will call him Uncle Edward, as will the Shipman children. We are the first, after the Shipman, to have the happy news. Mammon says, joyful times should as truly confirm our faith as times of sorrow test it. For good times and ill, each have their place, and he who doubts or questions either will only reveal how poor is his trust, how flawed his obedience. Thursday, July 28th, 1831. As Cassie, Sophie, and I together made our way from school today, I and Cassie talked about Aunt Lucy, how happy she now seems. I'm tired of her and her happiness, cried Sophie, all on a sudden. How will it be, do you think, for me when I've gone to the mills? Promise you'll both remember me, shall I write you letters and letters? And you must do the same. Why, Sophie, Cassie answered her, you'll be the one more likely to forget amidst new ways and company, while here 'twill always be the same, and we two merely going on in the same old ways. Promise, said Sophie. Will you promise me that? I promise, said Cassie seriously, surprised by the sudden emotion on her friend Sophie's part. Then loud shouts overtook us all as Daniel and Asa on the gallop appeared, and if they'd observed that tender moment, they confessed it not. Soon, with whoops and cheerful yells, we climbed the fence and crossed the fields. The way, though rather rougher, being a shortcut home. Monday, August 1st, 1831. At last night, heavy rain. Father believes it has come too late to save the food corn, already parched, but may be preserving to some. Mammon's roses, for which she feared, stand up brightly now. Tuesday, August 2nd. When we descended the schoolhouse path, who was there but Joshua? He'd been sent to salt the calves, then contrived a longer way round, that he'd be at the schoolhouse at the dismissal bell. He walked with me, Cassie and Sophie, talking idly of this and that, then suggested we turn through the woods, which they wished not to do. Then Josh and I parted from them, though not without calling back and forth with small though urgent messages about the coming day. Soon we felt the woodsy shadows, whereat we continued more quietly, grateful to be cool. Were further rewarded to discover a very handsome oriole, who calmly let us approach him. We stood quite close for the longest time, observing every shaded feather, I longing the while for pen and ink that I might have drawn him from life. Now does memory show him to me, such a handsome creature, with proud tilt to his head. Wednesday, August 3rd, 1831. The fire, our friend in winter months, is a tyrant now. I dread to waken the coals each day. And should Daniel murmur of sun on fields, I quickly offer him turn about, to lift the kettle to the blaze, or tend full pots at the fire's edge while steaming vapors rise. Mammon's complexion suffers, although she does not complain. She whose skin was white and fair has lost that elegance. Her cheeks have become as ruddy as mine, despite the bonnet she wears out of doors. And all but forgetting the demands of style, she pins up her hair like a farmer's wife and bares her arms to the elbow. Thursday, August 4th, 1831. Teacher Orpha sometimes permits the conduct of school out of doors. On these days we convene near the tree, the littlest ones gathering close to her, and sometimes even one of the babes will lay his head in her lap. Poor little thing, she'll say with a smile, or maybe, pretty dreamer. Then does the droning of our voices rival that of the somnolent bees, while off to one side the more wakeful infants intone with their verses and their ABCs. For our part, we're set three-syllable words, and do not tell teacher Orpha we have mastered them before. Brutishness, fruitfulness, love-letter, jeweler. I thought about that Jew today, the scissors that he sold me, and will he come again? 7 blocks of my quilt are done, so many more remain. Friday, August 5th. Daniel and Asa, having made a pact, assisted each other in their chores, then prepared for fishing. Father watched them from afar, then came closer to where they worked to offer much and varied advice to which they listened positively. She called after, "Do take care," to which Daniel made no answer. No doubt he knows how to traffic. He knows how to traffic in Boston, but concerning nature's ways, shows himself imprudent. Saturday, August 6, 1831. A day uncommonly hot. The cats lie stretched on the horse barn sill, that ancient, flat, and solid stone being shaded through the morning. Poor kitties, they are too hot to stir. I saw a mouse quick cross the floor, and Tabby, though she must have known, did not attempt pursuit. We all moved slowly in the heat, having still our chores to do, but secretly wishing, like the tabby cats, we might lie out in repose. Sunday, August 7, 1831. Another of Father's stories. When he himself was but a boy, a woman who was exceedingly poor lived past Meredith Center. Her children went barefoot most of the winter, and often were wan and tattered. One day the woman came to a house to ask a bit of butter. When the farm wife said that she had none, the other flew into a rage, shrieking coarsely, "You better had!" She ran across the yard. Then the good wife sat down to churn, but the butter would not come. Recalling then the other's curse, the good wife brought her fire well up, and having removed the pot from the crane, held the hook to the fire. When that device came to glow like the coals, she plunged it into the churn, so that steamy clouds rolls up. When she resumed her churning, the butter was quickly made. Just at sundown, 2 days later, a child came to her door. "Our mother is taken ill," cried she. "Oh, I do pray you can come." Quickly the good wife put on her shawl and went into the night. Soon she entered the neighbor's wretched house, and though she dearly wished to withdraw, she approached the other's bed. At once she knew it was too late, and that no help could be given. The poor woman's breath soon left her body. She attended only by her piteous babes and the neighbor woman. Our father paused as he came to this, then hushed his tone to continue. They said in town, and for miles around, that when the body was made ready for the grave, a recent burn was discovered. Its shape was that of an old-fashioned hook, exactly the kind the good wife had used to purify the milk. I cannot rest for thinking on it. Those poor orphan children. How came the burn to there? Tuesday, August 9th, 1831. The weather still very extreme. Although I try to be patient, still will I complain. Mammon, should she hear me, is quick to observe I ought to be glad for our large summer kitchen, which spares the house the worst of the heat. Or, she said the other day, thank you on the city dwellers, where every street knows 100 fires, and there's no stream in endless falls to the trough behind the barn. What she calls the country life, quote unquote, is amazement to her still. Catherine, she'll say, putting hands to her hips in a favorite posture. Now just come look at this. Or should we be burying down? Or should we be burying down in the patch? Catherine, do you see that leaf? The one that's too soon painted over with the colors of autumn? Or, mark that upstart flower there. I've not seen it like before. Then she will ask how it is called, and should I not be equipped with its name, she will tell me to look at it well, that I may be able, once we are home, to sketch it out for father. Wednesday, August 10th, 1831. The dark striped tabby had 4 kittens today, and each of them a darling. We knew her time was nearly here, but had not thought so soon. Cassie likes the pure white one best. I prefer the little black, whose 2 front paws are tipped. They are too tiny to take in our hands, and sleep so curled and sweet. Thursday, August 11, 1831. Cassie, Mammon, Mrs. Shipman, and I were occupied nearly all this day with picking whortleberries. The women gossiped like girls. We found a great many excellent berries, and so will have both pie and pudding, the latter enriched with summer milk, nearly as thick as cream. Our arms, before the day was done, were crisscrossed with welts and scratches. The berries grew so close to the briars, one cannot have one without the other. A lesson, I'm sure, for us to regard, but no one, not even Cassie's mother, this day pointed it out. I know not which I enjoyed the most, the berries themselves, so plump and sweet, or, after we picked and sampled our fill, to wash ourselves in Little Squam Pond before returning home. I found the water refreshingly clear and happily not too cold. Cassie, however, became quite chilled. That's often the case with her. I noted when we said goodbye, her hands were still cold to the touch. Tomorrow we shall meet together to assort the berries we've got and pick out the rough stems. Friday, August 12, 1831. Perhaps having gotten too much chilled, Cassie is struck with fever. She came not to school today, and afterwards Willie came around to say they'd not be coming by as we had expected. Daniel is in a great sulk. He wanted to go with Asa to town, but Mammon said where a town was concerned, any two boys were slower than one, and would not grant permission. Saturday, August 13, 1831. Mammon returned sorely distressed from calling on Miss Shipman. Cassie suddenly turned far worse, and the doctor was summoned. He, to halt the progression of disease, vigorously applied his leeches. Now, as a consequence of the cure, Cassie is even more weak and pale, can scarcely sip at broth. "But Charles," said Mammon, as she put out her meal, "there must be something else we can do, some other doctor to call." He interrupted roughly as thought, "You forget, this is not Boston." "But Charles, suppose it were one of ours? Daniel, Catherine, little Mattie, would you say the same?" "I told you," he said, "this is not Boston. Here we have got just one doctor. He does his best, is all." Monday, August 15, 1831. Again today, great heat. The storm we hoped for never broke. An unfortunate circumstance. Cassie is said to be slightly improved. I picked some flowers beside the road with hopes that I might see her. Her mother said she was resting then and would not let me in. It wasn't just the flowers, though. I felt that I must speak with her, not only in my own account, but with so many affectionate greetings from schoolmates and our teacher. Later, written by moonlight. The cicadas call so loudly tonight, they woke me from my sleep. How they insist that autumn approaches, that our summer's spent. Tuesday. Again has Cassie taken a turn that may be for the worse. We hear that her mother resigns herself, and thus maintains composure. "But one can see the effort, Charles. It's worse, far worse than on Sunday." "Oh, I can hardly bear to see, but will, of course, for I'm resolved to help however I can." For a while further nothing was said. Then Mammon spoke again. "You know that you have to fight death, Charles. I have done so, and did not you? Or will you say, as you did before, 'But this is not Boston'?" "Oh, Charles, forgive me," she said, turned and bolted through the door, and quickly fled the house. After a time, Mammon returned. She had got herself composed, plaited her hair, and pulled it tight, and looped it behind her ears. At once, I'm sorry, I said plaited, I meant plaited. At once, she sat down to the table and opened the writing desk. Father turned to her, surprised. Responding to his silent question, she gave no sign of the agitation she'd recently displayed. "I've decided," she explained, "to send directly to Boston, to my bookseller there. I realize now that I may have need of more knowledge of remedies than I now possess." Uncle Jack came later to visit. They set out a while. Wednesday, August 17, 1831. Cassie, they say, is much recovered despite our apprehension. We're all quite gay tonight, even Mammon, I note. Perhaps, long and after all, we will soon be burying, Berrying, again, and other glad pursuits. I saw today that the lower field, the one that borders the road to the north, is filled with laden bushes. The birds, at least, have enjoyed our absence. However, we need not be envious. The berries have lately come in thickly and are sufficient for all. I won at spelling today. Maria Perkins, Sophie's next sister, was my closest opponent. Thursday, August 18, 1831. Last night, early, we had our storm. Afterwards, Father related the story of the old man of the sea. There's no one can tell a tale any better. Though I know it well, I felt actual chills at his final recital of the fatal verse. Man of the sea, come listen to me, for Alice, my wife, the plague of my life, has sent me to beg a boon of thee. Silence followed the story's end. The part when they're poor again, she having wished too high. In secret did I remember then that I myself had oft longed for wealth without the dint of labor. I'm glad to have been set right by Father's gentle instruction, the which I perceived in the tale. And did that happen in Holderness when you were a boy? Everyone laughed aloud at my poor Mattie, and she rushed to the house. Daniel arose from where he sat and quickly followed her in. I heard his voice through the open door. Do not mind that they laughed at you. When I was small, I too believed in the truth of that story. But being a boy of Boston then, I thought it happened there. There is a bold box of text. Inside the bold box of text, it reads, Cassie is dead. It happened while she slept. And then she stops. And then it states, Saturday, August 20th, 1831. This is the end of chapter 14.